Big things have small beginnings.
Yup, all big things have small beginnings. Large empires and skyscrapers start with a single brick. And we're no different ourselves, especially with our careers. Hi, my name is Ken, and welcome to another video. I'm a music producer who's fortunate to have worked on big projects over my 13-year-long career, but I definitely do have my small beginnings as well. Today, I'd like to share with you what my beginnings look like. So I got my first music job 20 years ago. Guess what I did? If you're thinking it's my first job right out of college, nope. My first job was actually back when I was 15 in 2001. What? Right after the year-end exams, my mom wanted me to learn the value of money, so she convinced the boss of the guitar school I was learning at to hire me to do anything. And so he did. And that's how I got my first job in a place called Mahogany Music, the house of guitars. And here's the picture of how the place looked like. I still remember walking up on my first working day and feeling really weird because I've been a student of this place for many years, but this was me walking up not as a student but as a staff. You know, when I first started, I literally had to do anything and everything. I was cleaning windows, I was wiping floors, I was arranging inventory, I was even doing food deliveries. Yup, you heard that right, food deliveries. Then not long after, I was promoted to doing basic guitar servicing work like changing strings, polishing frets, changing tuners. You know, what I learned from this experience is there's really no work that is not important and that everything is worth trying and doing. You know, working in Mahogany was actually for me a dream come true because when I was working there, I was actually really crazy about guitars. And if there's one thing that the place wasn't lacking of, it was guitars. It's called the house of guitars for a reason. I practiced guitar a lot when there were no customers around, and over time, my co-workers started to notice that I was actually a pretty good guitar player for my age. So slowly, they started allowing me to teach. First by substituting, and then they started giving me students of my own. By the way, just a disclaimer, I had zero teaching experience back then. It seriously took me a lot of trial and error and observing my co-workers to start to get a hang of teaching. So what I learned from that teaching experience was it actually mattered more how well you connected with the students than the actual teaching quality itself. So it actually helped that most of the students were actually around my age, so connecting with them is a lot easier. Sometime in 2002, my boss called me into his office, sat me down, and said,
"Ken, I'm going to teach you about sales and marketing today."
I kid you not, that was actually what he did. So at the time, I didn't really know what it meant, but it turns out that this was the final and most important step of my experience in the school, because sales is what generates money, but this was perhaps one of the hardest things I had to do, because I'm by nature an introvert, even though most people find it hard to believe. And actually, thanks to this sales experience, I learned how to mask my introversion in social situations and can act extroverted. You know, when I first began doing sales, I was actually chasing customers away more than I was actually swiping their credit cards. So obviously, as a salesperson, I had to sell stuff. The more stuff I sold, the more I made. As simple as that. But trust me, it takes an extra layer of thick skin to be able to do this at 16 years old. You know, I knew money was important at that age, but it didn't really have the same effect on me as it did on my co-workers because they had families, they had commitments, they had mortgages. All I wanted to do was go play video games and buy CDs. So for me, my motivation was actually not so much for the money, but not to get a scolding from the boss. Thanks to my boss and co-workers, I managed to get better at it over time. And even though I wouldn't consider myself a salesman today, but what I learned back then was still extremely practical and useful now in my current stage of my career. I bounced in between part-time and full-time in Mahogany until I left for the US in 2006. And in the 5 years I was there, I had worked in 3 different branches, and at my height, I had around 30 students under my belt. Some of what I did might sound trivial to some people nowadays, but looking back, I actually had a lot of fun, and what made this, my first music job, even more valuable was that was when I decided I was going to pursue music as a career. And even though what I do now hardly resembles what I did back then, a lot of the skills, a lot of the experience definitely did carry over. That experience shaped me more than I knew it did. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed this piece about my small beginnings. What were your small beginnings like? Let us know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye.